What can I say about 2013? While everybody knows it was a bad year when it came to the media of animated features compared to the others like the international and documentary films, that year in 2017 would have been better if there were three nominees, if you can really think about it. And remember, what I'll be doing here is ranking all the five nominees here. And I will have addressed this. There might be some anger when it comes to this video, as this will all be my opinion. Remember that. And it's no contest, and it's not your personal opinion. It's my opinion, and I'm kind of scared what I'm about to say here. Because what I have here for my number 5, I might have some people end this video now when I say it's Frozen. I will say I'm not one of those massive Frozen haters. And this year was my first time watching it, and I do find it overrated. There are some positives I do have. I will admit there are some jokes in the musical numbers I did laugh at. Olaf isn't really that annoying, and the backgrounds in the city are really well done on Arendelle, Elsa's palace, and of course the snow. And the best thing that came out of this movie is Anna, as she really cares about her sister, her relationship with Kristoff, and how she struggles to save herself after she was struck by Elsa with her powers. A spoiler alert, by the way. All with a fantastic performance by Kristen Bell, and she is definitely probably my favorite Disney princess. The rest of it, however, well, the script is way too obvious by going into the veins we have seen before, mainly The Lion King that everyone compares this movie with. The musical numbers are good on its own, but it doesn't fit well with the movie. Hans is a terrible plot twist villain. The Duke of Weaselton barely has any screen time as a villain. I don't like some of the physical jokes. And I'm gonna be 100% honest here, just for this film in particular. I hate Elsa. I don't know if it's either the writing or Indina Menzel's performance, but she just has a mental problem with herself and not caring about her sister or anyone that's around her. I understand why, but excuse my language for this, but Disney made her a bitch here, with the anger she has done to herself, making everyone freezing themselves, and she almost killed Anna. And I'm sorry to say this, but how she is in this film, I wish Hans would have executed her. All I'll say is that Frozen 2 is a bit better than the first film, but not by much. At least Elsa's better in there, and Anna's still the MVP, especially in the sequel, and I don't need to repeat the recommendations here. Going into more hate, my number 4 is The Wind Rises. Before I begin my thoughts here, I have to confess something, that The Wind Rises is my first Studio Ghibli film. So yeah, I haven't seen films such as Grave of the Fireflies, My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, and yes, that includes Spirited Away, which many people consider that to be the best animated feature winner of the Oscars. And you know I will be watching the other two films for the next two reviews. As many of you know, it's one of the fewest animated films out there to actually be a biopic, which is on the life of Jiro Horikoshi. It was also Hayao Miyazaki's final film he planned for his retirement, until 2017 when he had another movie in his mind. So coming into his latest film, which is legit 2 hours by the way, and despite of its subject matter with the element of World War II, The Wind Rises is one of the most boring animated films I've seen. There's barely anything that's memorable to watch, like the earthquake scene was interesting, but the rest was just a generic story of a man who just wants to make planes and falls in love with a woman who's much younger than him, and the animation is just planes and planes and planes. Even the main dub and the English dub, which the latter one has a lot of recognizable celebrities, mainly Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiro, doesn't really make this movie entertaining. The only thing that stand out of this movie would definitely be the score. Everything else, just nothing. And kind of in the same veins of Disney and Pixar films, I can't do recommendations here because it's a Miyazaki film. But I will say, if you want to start your first Studio Ghibli film, this is definitely not one you should start with first. Number 3, Ernest and Celestine. I did enjoy it the first time I watched it a few years back, but now revisiting it, I will say it's now okay at best. This is mainly due to the script being two different animal classes just stealing candy for one and teeth for the other, not really explaining much on the bear and mouse relationship to the citizens, and when Ernest and Celestine have been hiding in his house, it's just filler. I will admit the animation being in a watercolor style is well done, especially how they did one joke with it, and the courtroom scene is definitely great on how frustrated and understandable it is. Also, does the score kind of remind you of the Nick Jr. show Little Bear? As for which dub, I do prefer the English dub that also does have recognizable celebrities, mainly Forrest Whitaker and Mackenzie Foy as the two main characters. Makes them so memorable, although the lip syncing in the English dub is noticeable. So watch the English dub first if you feel like a lighthearted crime film. Number 2, The Croods. I honestly thought that this was going to be a number 5, but coming into a revisit here, since I saw this back in 8th grade, I've actually had a good time. Yes, the first 30 minutes aren't that great, and the characters aren't that strong, especially Grug can be a bit annoying a lot as an overprotector, but with the aspect of new in their universe, with all the inventions we know in our universe look the same but different in this movie. With the amount of scenes, this movie is all credit to the animation on how they make the characters experience this world with their mission to follow the light of the sun. As of this video's release, I have yet to see The Croods: A New Age. That's mainly because this is being recorded 9 days before the Oscar nominations, so I don't know if I'm going to be reviewing this sequel after this year's Oscars. Definitely not in the veins of DreamWorks' best, but being DreamWorks' first film with the Fox distribution definitely had a decent start, so I do recommend it for you if you want to have a good time. And my number 1 of the animated feature nominees of 2013 is Despicable Me 2. When I was getting ready for this year's lineup, I did have to watch the first Despicable Me to get my mind back on the second film. As I did stated in the 2010 video, I wasn't a fan of the first movie when I was a kid, and maybe the second when I saw it back in 8th grade. Yes, another movie I watched during that same school year. And I will say I do have appreciation to the first film, with the exception of the villain Vector, but I do have more of appreciation to the second film, mainly with the development with Gru on being an anti-villain and the relationship with his future wife Lucy. Speaking of her, she is definitely a bit silly, but definitely the perfect woman for our main character. The minions, who are not annoying by the way, are actually well done in this film by having them being crazy with their mutant forms, and El Macho is definitely a step up villain on how evil he is. Along with the great animation, especially on the gadgets and the character animation, really improves Illumination's quality 3 years after the first film. After I watched all 5 nominees, I did watch the 2 follow-ups they did, their spin-off Minions and Despicable Me 3. And if I did rank all 4 of them, it would go Despicable Me 3, which is the only one I was the most disappointed, Despicable Me, Minions, which I had a great time watching, and of course Despicable Me 2. So I do think Despicable Me 2 should have won for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. But what about Best Original Song? Since Despicable Me 2 had Happy, and Frozen took the win with the iconic song of the film, Let It Go. For me, Happy should have won instead of Let It Go. We now go into the question, what other films could have been a better choice that the Academy should have nominated? For me, I would keep The Croods and Despicable Me 2, questioning about Ernest and Celestine, but definitely not Frozen and The Wind Rises. As I said, 2013 was a bad year for animation. There are only 3 mainstream films that could have been possible. There's DreamWorks' other film, Turbo, Blue Sky Studios' Epic, which got a PGA nomination, and Pixar's Monsters University, which got nominated everywhere except for the Golden Globes. So this wraps up my ranking on the best animated feature nominees of 2013. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe and like button, and comment down below what is your ranking of these films if you have seen the 5. And do you think Frozen deserved the Oscar for best animated feature or not? But now we go into a controversial year where many people think that the Academy has a Disney bias in the Best Animated Feature category.